Your habits.
I read 3 or 4 newspapers when I get up in the morning, and then I always have 2 or 3 books that I'm reading. I kind of go back and forth between them, and that's what I do. And that's what I've done all my life.
What are your 4 papers?
Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Financial Times, LA Times.
My question is about reading and about newspapers. I'm struggling now that I have 2 young children at home, trying to have a third on the way, and I don't know how much time I need to be dedicating to my papers and my reading that I'm missing from the kids, and I kind of feel like a jerk sitting in a dark room with the door closed, hearing the kids, and do I want those memories versus reading? So I wonder, with so many kids you had, how did you balance your reading, and did you fluctuate the number of papers that you had in your driveway?
I have the kind of mind that when I want to read something, I can tune everything else out. And so the people aren't even present. In fact, I frequently sit in a room and converse with dead people while the living people around me are irritated. So I don't think you should try my methods. It's a miracle they worked for me. But I will say this, I know no wise person who doesn't read a lot. I suspect that you can read on the computer now and get a lot of benefit out of it. But I doubt if it'll work as well as reading print worked for me. And I think people who multitask pay a huge price, and they think they're being extra productive, and I think they're occupying. I use the metaphor of the one-legged man in the ass-kicking contest. I think when you multitask so much you don't have time to think about anything deeply, you are giving the world an advantage you shouldn't do. And practically everybody is drifting into that mistake. Concentrating hard on something that's important is, I can't succeed at all without doing it. I did not succeed in life by intelligence. I succeeded because I have a long attention span.
So what do you think about the last couple of books that have been written about you? And if there was an author here, what would you tell him if he was writing a book about you?
I haven't read what books you're talking about.
Like the Tao of Charlie Munger? Or
I never finished it.
Damn it. Any thoughts on the books that have been written about you?
Well, since I don't finish them, I'm not... Of course people are going to tend to look about stuff that's written about them and it's distributed. But when they just copy old quotes and so forth,
it's not.
Why should I read it?
Hey Charlie, I believe you said that if you could have lunch with anybody, it would be Benjamin Franklin. And if you did, what would you ask him or what would you talk about?
Well, it's hard to offer all that. Benjamin Franklin has already taught me what I want to know because he left such a record and his biographers have been so good and he was so famous in his own lifetime and for so long. So I already have had my conversations with Benjamin Franklin. He actually gave us the autobiography. And then the various biographies I've read piece in the rest of the story.
Every year when I come to these kind of events, everyone asks you what you are reading. I'd like to ask you how you read. And when you are reading a book of significance and you appreciate that you are reading a paragraph or a chapter that's deeply meaningful, how do you retain and incorporate that information? Do you have a filing system?
No, I don't. I've never taken notes. I've never kept notes when I was a student. I just read what I please when I feel like reading it, and I think what I think when I feel like thinking it. And that's my system. I don't think it's the right system for everybody, but it seems to have worked well enough for me to enable me to get by.
I read every book in the Omaha Public Library on the business by the time I was 11, and we moved back here. And as soon as I got back here and my dad was in Congress, I said, get everything in the Library of Congress, I want to read it. But I still spend 5 or 6 hours a day reading. I mean, it just, you can learn so much. I particularly love biography, just, you know, to be able to live the lives of these people that have been so extraordinary, the lessons and you know, the discouragements they face, just everything about it. So you can't get enough of reading.
Yeah, when he came to Columbia and spoke to the business school in Professor Bruce Greenwald's class in, it was either late '01 or early '02, the very last question that was posed to him was what his secret was. And he had this, never forget it, he had this giant pile of paper and he pulled it out. It was a complete hodgepodge and said that he reads 500 pages a week. And anyone can do it, and you know, it's like compound knowledge. If you start today, it would just build over time. And so that's when I started, and so it's somewhere around 500, sometimes a little bit more pages a week. And that can be all those things I mentioned before, annual reports and transcripts and regulatory filings and so forth.
How do you keep up with all the media and information that goes on in our crazy world and in your world of Berkshire Hathaway? What's your media routine?
I just read and read and read. I probably read 5 to 6 hours a day. I don't read as fast now as when I was younger, but I read 5 daily newspapers. I read a fair number of magazines. I read 10Ks. I read annual reports, and I read a lot of other things too. So I've always enjoyed reading. I love reading biographies, for example.
And you process information very quickly.
Well, I have some filters in my mind.